Welcome to the Inspiration Hour with Luce and Mac, as we inspire by sharing real people's stories and their exhilarating journeys. We all learn by sharing our gifts and talents through the power of talking with one guest at a time. Get cozy, get your favorite nighttime drink, and let's get ready to be wowed with inspiration.
Hola, mi gente. Hello, hello. Happy Monday. It's another wonderful inspiration hour with me, Luz, and a special guest. So today I am so excited. I am just like in awe. I have such a great person joining us tonight. I hope you guys are ready. You have your tea or whatever nighttime thing you want to sip on. If it's bubbly, it's even more fun. And you're nice and cozy at home. So today we're speaking with Lee Santamaria. She's a friend and colleague. And just let me just brag a little bit about Diana, because I really admire her. I met her online. The author world is actually pretty small in the space for bilingual children's book authors. And Lee Santamaria has been an early childhood educator for over 11 years. She's an award-winning children's author of a bilingual book series called DLee's World, and that's how I met her. I saw her books. I was instantly in love. And she has a master's degree in early childhood education along with a bachelor's degree in communication studies. Diana Lee's preschool learning books entitled DLee's Color Hunt, DLee's Outdoor Countdown, DLee's First Day of School, DLee's Nighttime Scare, DLee's Bad Day, Un Mal Dia, DLee's Snow Day, and DLee's Shapely Imagination are the first 7 educational books in her series. The goal of her books is to promote early literacy, diversity, and learning through fun. And I have to say her books are really cute and fun. And I just feel, and maybe because I have little girls, that when I saw those books, I was instantly enamored with the character. Not only does she look like someone that could be my family, but also it was just nice to have it in English and Spanish. So want to welcome to the table Diana, and I was almost going to call you DLee. Hi, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome. How are you feeling?
Thanks for having me on your official show. This is too cool.
What? Sometimes I have to pinch myself because it feels, I really have to thank God and, and Jerry. I couldn't have done this without him. Because this is kind of like, whoa, I'm really doing this. Every week I feel that moment wow.
Yeah, this is awesome. I love it.
Thank you. So how was your weekend, by the way?
It was great. A little busy. I feel like most of the summer weekends are pretty busy these days, and it's like almost the end of the summer. So just getting in as much as possible. How about you? I know you went away for a little bit with your family.
I did. My sister-in-law always runs like this big house in the Hamptons. They're still out there, but we got to see the kids enjoy some time with like cousins and was just there enjoying it. So 2 of my kids decided to stay behind, and I have the oldest because she started soccer and I had to go to work. You know how that goes. It's like the weekends escapes us and work kind of, the ball and chain calls. So that's my job. So I'm going to jump right in because I want to just really kind of like ask a lot of questions and give people a good idea how you started, your character DLee. And also you created it based on something very special. And I think that is something I like to celebrate as women because, you're married, you have a baby. And sometimes you don't get a lot of you time to do something that you're really passionate about. Of course you're passionate about your family and your work and things like that. But this is something that was born out of something very beautiful. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So like you mentioned so much about DLee's World already. So basically it's an educational series that I started back in 2014. I really got inspired in the classroom because at the time I was teaching pre-K. It was probably about my 5th year at that particular school. I was teaching in Newark, New Jersey, and I was reading books to the kids every day, like multiple books every day. And then I started analyzing things about the stories, like what they liked. And like, for example, like if they laughed at a certain part of a book, I was like, oh, okay. Let me look into it. Like, why did they laugh here? Oh, I see. Because of the character or because of something that was going on. Okay. Then I started analyzing, oh, I see that the kids really like this book. Oh, why do they like this book? Oh, because it has a rhyme scheme and children learn best through rhyme. Okay. So like just taking a lot of things into consideration, and then also noticing that there were some books that they didn't really like. So why didn't they like these? Oh, well, maybe this is an older book. The characters, there aren't that many characters, and or the colors are very like dark. So just analyzing all these little things, and then realizing that as a teacher, there's a lot of objectives that we need to hit. So I'm like, you know what, sometimes I didn't have those books because unfortunately my resources were slim because of, sometimes where you work, you don't have as many resources. Like our literature, our book resources weren't, vast. So I was like, you know what, maybe I could write a story. And I always loved doing stuff like that growing up. I always dabbled in the arts. It was always like my favorite thing. And so I wrote a story, but nothing really came of it at that point. And then, maybe months, I don't even know how long. Like, I don't even know if it was a year or months later, when I was in grad school and I was studying with my friend, she like, her and I had some time and we were chatting, and I mentioned to her that I wrote a children's story, and she told me to read it to her, and I did. And then she got really excited. She's like, Di, you gotta keep doing this. I was like, really though? She's like, yeah, no, it's really good. You should try it. I'm like, oh, okay. Cause I didn't know anybody. I don't know if I'm good, or I don't even, and still sometimes I doubt myself. There's always that imposter syndrome, I guess people call it, where you kind of just yeah, I'm just all right. I'm not all that. I'm just okay, I guess. I think, right? But
So I'm laughing, and I didn't mean to laugh in a haha moment, but it was kind of I know that feeling because we all go through it. Is it really good? Should I really try for this? And I think exactly. It's because, and it's something that I've kind of analyzed myself too. Haven't you noticed that as women, we're so, and it's not only women, because I have to say it's a lot like a lot of people of color. We have very little opportunities to do things. So when we're trying to do something different, we're always 7 times scared. I can't ever imagine a time that I did something without asking someone for permission.
Oh,
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So just hearing you relate that story, that was your way of asking for permission. Do you think this is good enough to even do, And I get it. I get it as a Latina. I get it as a woman. I get it as someone who's doing this as a first in your family. And let me know if I said anything wrong, because honestly, I think people need to know about that. That's a real feeling, and overcoming the feeling is half the battle.
Yeah, no, seriously, that's everything that you said is to the T how I felt. And still sometimes, like I said, I doubt myself now, even though I've been doing this 7 years now. And, I'm still establishing my brand and name. And although I get positive feedback, I still question everything that I do. I still question it. It's crazy. And I know I probably shouldn't be like that all the time, but I guess it's a part of my personality, which is what I ended up bringing a little bit into DLee's world, right? Because so after my friend kind of told me, that I should keep going, I just got so inspired that I started writing. And I mean, the words were just flooding. The ideas began to flood from me. I was just writing and writing and writing and writing. This was such a great time. I never felt this before, because it was the first time in my life when everything clicked. I always liked art, but I went into speech communications because I was super shy. And then I was doing like public relations stuff. And then I always wanted to be a host, and I wanted to sing, and I wanted to act. And I dabbled into acting at one point. I even got like my SAG-AFTRA card. And then it's like all of these things. Then I was an educator. I'm like, how is this ever going to connect? And then one day it connected, like all the pieces connected. It like fit perfectly in a puzzle. I'm like, oh my goodness, I did the acting because now here I am like doing assemblies for children, and I have to bring this persona out, right? And like I make animated voices and all this stuff. So it's just like all of the pieces came together, and I created DLee's World, which is basically a piece of me as a child, because I was very introverted and shy and always afraid of things, right? So that's basically the character, DLee, based on me, Diana Lee. That's my mom had nicknamed me DLee. And then, you know, I also took into consideration a lot of the elements, right? Like I said, I analyzed the children's books that I was reading with my kids in school, like what they liked, what they didn't like. So analyzing all that. Also analyzing the fact that there weren't any diverse books. There weren't a lot of diverse books at this time. Yes. Mind you, this is 2014. There weren't even a lot of bilingual books. I mean, there aren't now, but there wasn't back then. It was just like minimal, right? You weren't really finding that. So I was analyzing all of these things when I created this. And yeah, so it's been a long journey, but I think, yeah. But I'm still working my way.
Like, I am so, like, honestly, I know we've talked before, but I'm always like so like commending you on the work you've done, because I'm a huge fan. I've seen what you've done with DLee, and it's remarkable. And now you have an Instagram filter where people get to be DLee or the cat. You know, I think these are moments that you're letting kids be seen, kids that look like you, kids that look like me in a different aspect, you know, and also still learn, you know, and still full of rigor. I actually had the privilege of being on a Zoom with you when you read your book. And when you touched on the acting, I'm glad you brought that up, because you did an amazing job. But I think what I loved the most is how into the reading you got. It was like, you know, everyone else is like silent, waiting for their turn as an author to read. And when it was your turn, it was like, holy cow, who is this woman? You're like reading it. DLee's voice is high pitched but fun and cute. And then her brother's voice is kind of like, you know, a little like, you know, like you're showing all the weird dynamics that happen. But with your voice, you were like fully like an actress, acting it out. Everyone enjoyed it. I remember the moderator had this huge smile, and he just couldn't.
Oh, really? Because I didn't see any of that. I didn't see any of that.
But you were like reading. You were like, you know, you went ham, and I loved it. And I was like, I don't think I do that. And I'm like, I feel like I'm like, hey, you guys, you want to see a YouTube? And I put my thing, and then at the end, no, I do read, but you know, I'm just like really impressed how you do your reading. It's really fun.
Thank you.
Like, it's really entertaining.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you know, the crazy thing is, I can't read it any other way. I really
if you try, it'll just come out flat. Like, you'll be like,
it's like it doesn't work for me. Like, if I don't read it like that, to me, it's not DLee's World, if that makes sense. Like, even when I wrote my first story, and I decided after I'm sorry, not the first story, but maybe like my second or third story, and I actually read it to my dad, and I'm like, hey Dad, I've been writing, I'm thinking about creating like a storybook series based off of my life, right, personal and professional, and I want, you know, you to hear this. And I read it to him, but I read it as DLee, and he was like, wow, Dad, you got something here. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me, Dad? Seriously? Because you're my dad. Are you just saying that because you're my dad? Or, you know, do you really like it? He's like, no, I love it. I'm like, okay, yay. You know, like,
that's
it's like,
so
right.
Sweet.
But like, I had to read it like that.
And the voice, it just came natural. Like, there was no, like, I tried a different tones of voice or different, you know, like,
no, I
pitches.
didn't. It just came natural. You're right. It just, like, you know, that's one of the one of the questions that I get the most. So sometimes I'm like, I might not be the best writer, but apparently I'm like the best storyteller in a sense of like like how I animate my voice. So even if my books don't sound that good, I guess I make it sound good. I don't know.
Yeah.
But those are my thoughts. I'm like, are my books even good, or is it just my voices? So sometimes you tend to doubt yourself, like we were talking about before. So, those thoughts cross my mind. But one of the questions that I get the most is like, how do you switch up the voices? And I'm like, I don't know. I just do it. Like I can't explain it.
Let me tell you, because as you know, I have my animations. I when I was getting some.
Them. I love
Thank
them. They're
you.
beautiful. I'm one of your fans too. I'm one of your biggest fans.
Yeah, but when I was trying to find who was going to be Maria's voice, and I wanted a child, a Latina child. And for the English, I wanted a girl when she was doing English with an accent. It was hard. I was like listening to voices for a week. And one thing I discovered, there aren't any Latina voice actors that are easily found. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And it took weeks and weeks. So to see you just have this nailed down to a science, I'm just like, yeah, like you're the total package. Like I could see DLee being a very successful animation and very well loved within our community.
Thank you so much.
I'm putting it out there because I know that's something, I wish nothing but blessings for you on that, because I know how hard you've worked on it. And you are a self-published author instead of a published author through like a press.
Traditional.
Yeah. Do you want to, it's funny because a lot of people like saying traditional press and stuff like that. And I try to break it down all the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, a lot of people still get lost in the author world. Like, what does that mean? Like, what does it really like, what does it entail? And for you, did self-publishing feel like this is the right feel for me? Like you weren't even going to try to publish it traditionally?
Originally I did try. I started sending my manuscripts. I sent my manuscript out, and I kind of I was doing a lot of research, and I noticed that it was really hard to get into traditional publishing. If you don't know anybody, if you don't have a literary agent, you're basically on your own. So one of my cousins mentioned, hey, did you ever try the indie route? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't really know anything about it. So I just continued researching, and I was like, you know what, maybe I'll try it. And I ended up finding like createspace.com, which is now Amazon KDP, because back then that's what it was called. And I utilized that, and it was actually a really great resource for me. And I ended up publishing my first 3 books through that space. So, I mean,
I did the same. Like once I found out about KDP, I found that it was easier. You know what I mean? To get the book out there instead of holding on to the baby.
Yeah. And, I had something for me this, like you said, it's your baby, right? So this was like my passion project. This is my baby. And I wanted it to have that part of me, and I wanted to put it out there. And so I'm just like, you know what, I'm just going to try it and see how it goes. And then, like I said, I've been plugging away ever since. It's been 7 years.
No, and I'm so happy that you stuck with it. I know there's more adventures that we're going to see DLee doing. I wanted to ask, because this is something I've shared, and even when I've been interviewed in the past, a lot of people tell me, like, when do you know it's time to stop trying to pitch your book the traditional way? And I tell people, until you feel like you've tried enough, Yeah. And I've even given them examples that a book that I'm working on that's going to be published next year that's picked up traditionally. I had pitched that book over 75 times. And and I did it just because I really wanted that opportunity, right?
Right.
But if it didn't happen, I was like fully ready to self-publish. I think the reason it just came, like right on time was because it was like, you know what? I really put the the work there, I was like really like, yes, I want this, I want this, I want this. But it's not,
breathing
it's
that into
not,
existence.
yeah, it was like, it's not the easiest. And I'm kind of curious to know for you, like, when did you was like, you know what, I did my research. It was good and done. I'm very content with going the self-publishing route, because then I'm in full control.
I feel like in 2014, I kind of just was winging it, to be honest. I wasn't sure. I did a lot of research. I knew it was going to be really hard. I didn't have a name for myself. I'm like, who's really going to like want to pick me up? And how are they going to, like there's so many things, there's so many manuscripts that these agencies get, like whether it's a literary agent, right? If you're trying to pitch to an agent, like there's so many manuscripts they're getting. If you try to do it straight to the publisher, they don't look at it unless you have a literary agent. So it's kind of like, it's very hard. So
I want to tell you that experience of it being hard, once you animate, it's the same experience. It's almost like you're pitching a book again, but with an animation. It's the same experience. And a lot of networks, they really rely on the agents to do those intros. You know what I mean? And it's the same in the book space. But the book space, its novelty is that, you have the opportunity to be an indie author. And as you notice, there's more indie authors now than ever,
Yeah, I've actually noticed, especially since the pandemic, I feel like it's picked up even more.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm glad, because I think everyone should, these gatekeepers that are holding the gate for traditional publishing houses, they really need to ask themselves, like, what is it that's gonna make me pick up more new voices, more of the undiscovered voices, more people from the Black and Brown community? What are the messages that we want to make sure are loudly heard in the world? So I'm really hoping that seeing the rise in indie authors will welcome these thoughts,
Yeah, I agree.
So I know you talked about teaching, and are you working, besides, working on DLee, is there anything else you do for work, or?
Well, I was a full-time teacher for a very long time. In your intro, you had mentioned like 11 years, right? So,
years, yeah.
Yeah, I was a full-time early childhood educator for 11 years. So I did like majority was pre-K, and then I also did first grade for some part of my professional career. And recently I had my son, and when the pandemic hit, my husband and I chatted about it, and I decided to stay home. So I've actually been home the past year with my son. So actually, I'm currently, I'm with him, and I do DLee's World on the side when I have time. I'm going to be honest, he keeps me super busy. So sometimes DLee takes a back seat, and not sometimes, I'm exaggerating that. A lot of times it takes a back seat because I'm a busy mom. I have a toddler, and he is very energetic, and he demands a lot of my time. And sometimes when I'm done, like, once he goes to bed, I'm pooped myself. So I kind of like just want to veg out and not think about anything. So, yeah, I mean.
Relate. I have 3. I relate. And I've met a lot of teachers that besides teaching and they take a pause, they pick up other professions along the way. So, or other hobbies or jobs. And I'm like always like wowed by them. But, I think there is, teaching art or teaching photography.
I actually tutor. I tutor.
You tutor?
I do. I tutor. I did like virtual tutoring all throughout the pandemic.
How did that feel? How did that go? Was it hard, since you have the baby and everything, getting things coordinated so you could?
Not so much. I mean, because the great thing is he still naps. So I tried to do things around his nap times, or I would, schedule it when my husband was already home. So then now I'm doing it later on, like after dinner, then I would do that, or on the weekend. So, I mean, it all worked itself out, but I found it really cool to just be one-on-one and helping a student to learn that way. Because I feel like it's a little easier one-on-one,
Yeah, yeah. When you have a full classroom, especially now that New York City, I'm not sure about Newark, I'm sure it's the same, has like they're over capacity with students and only one teacher and sometimes not even two. So I'm always like concerned, how much one-on-one time kids really get. I feel like that's the best opportunity kids get to learn, having like that, connection with their teachers. So I really commend you for still doing that, because my mom was a teacher. She was a Spanish teacher, and, she really feel like a lot of kids love to learn, and sometimes that kind of dies out because it becomes harder and harder to learn in these spaces, like the full classroom
I totally
and the challenges and all these dynamics that play a part. But, when you have a caring teacher that's loving and wants to make things fun, kids really gravitate towards that. So I commend you for that.
Thanks. I mean, I kind of feel like that's another piece of why I did DLee's World, because I wanted to be able to like teach on a grander scale, right? To teach kids on a grander scale and make it fun and, kind of bring that to the table. Because when I was a kid, I actually grew up I was in like in a Brooklyn. I used to live in Brooklyn in Canarsie, and I went to school in one of the public schools, and I was quiet. So I was like one of those kids that was overlooked. And when I was in the 3rd grade, my dad realized I didn't even know how to read.
Oh, wow. That's really insightful, because a lot of people don't understand that the quiet kid is not like they're being quiet because they're just being good. Sometimes like the teachers miss them altogether. You know what I mean? Like they get left behind a little bit. Like they should be really probed for questions like, hey, want to sit next to me to learn what's going on, or, things like that. And I totally understand, and I relate to what you're saying, because when I was little, it took me a while to learn how to speak, because I was like, no one spoke to me, besides at home. And I was like very shy at home. So I didn't speak like a lot till I was like in 2nd grade. So everyone thought I was delayed speaking, when it wasn't that. Like, it was like a classroom full of kids. And the only time I spoke was at home, and it was very little.
Yeah. No, I get that. I mean, it's crazy, like how, it can be in the school systems, like you said, because they are sometimes crowded, right? And so the teacher is just one person, and sometimes he or she doesn't have an assistant to help out. And one person with like 23 kids, I mean, it's really difficult. I've been there before, so I get it.
Yeah.
It's hard to set aside that time. And, nothing against that particular teacher that, or the teachers that I had, because, I'm sure they were trying to do the best that they could do. But I mean, it was at my disadvantage, because now here I am in the 3rd grade, and now I don't know how to read, and now my dad has to teach me. And that was like a big point of why I wanted to create DLee's World, because I wanted to create books that targeted early literacy and targeted kids, early on, so that they can be interested in reading. Because by 3rd grade, I had no interest in books. Yeah. I didn't know how to read. Like, why would I want to read a book? Oh, that's so boring. Like, those are my thoughts all the time. Like, I don't want to read. It's boring. Right. So I wanted to kind of, get kids when they're little, like when they're still interested and they're still sponges. They really, they want you to read to them.
Yeah. Like, and that's when parents should really, because I don't want to put all the onus on the teachers. That's when parents should really be focusing on engaging kids with like educational materials such as books and other
definitely
concepts. Like in my house, we're big with manipulatives too. Like the blocks for maths and things like that, because my son is really great with numeracy. With books, he started loving books only because, of course, Mama is gonna push on that.
And Mama's an author.
but sometimes, My son is a hard person to please. Right now, we're trying to motivate him more with books. I mean, he reads a lot, but because now he's into comic books. So I'm
Oh,
trying to
that's so
find like
cool.
appropriate comic books, because all the comic books is either like really kiddie or like really adult. I started making in between. So he read all his Spider-Man books, and he's read all like some books on Epic. So I'm really glad that he's loving that new challenge of comic books, and we read them together. I wanted to ask you, what is next for DLee? Like, what are some books that we should know about that are coming down the pipeline?
That's a good question. Even like I have to think on that, because I mean, I have stories that I've written. I have them just sitting on my laptop. I haven't thought about what's next as far as the next story. Like which one I want to come out next, if that makes sense.
Because, that totally makes sense.
Yeah, so I have a few. Like, I just don't know what, where life will lead me and which one I'm going to want to like take the rein on and just be like, okay, this is it. I really haven't had as much time as I would have liked, like I said, I've been really busy with my son. So sometimes those thoughts don't really get to cross my mind as much as they used to. Because before I used to have all the time in the world, but like now it's just like I said, there's a bunch of different things going on in my mind at once. Like right before I even came on here, I was like organizing my son's clothes and like folding and putting everything in, and then I came on, So it's like, this is my life. It's pretty much like full-time mom all day, every day.
I do understand. I had to go in the office today, but I'm going to be full-time in the office pretty soon. But my kids start school within this weekend, next week. And one of my daughters just finished her soccer class, and now had a poetry session with a writer, which was really awesome. And I was just so happy it happened. So I was doing some wrap-up calls to see how it went for her, like how she did. So I get it. It's always like that. So sometimes I'll be doing things, a lot of things before I get on my own podcast show, because it's just, it's like you. Also, I try my best to schedule time for me to do something that I love, and this is something I love.
I can tell.
I love getting to know people. I feel relationships are the best way to learn and grow as individuals. And the more we have time to experience this, because that's one of the reasons why I started the Inspiration Hour with Luz, because a lot of people don't have the opportunity to meet others and learn from others. So I wanted to put this together, because throughout the whole journey, you know how many amazing authors like yourself I've met, as well as like producers, musicians, actors, and the list goes on, like entrepreneurs doing amazing things. And I feel like if I had not taken this journey, I wouldn't have known them. And I know you could relate, especially in your space.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like life leads you in certain directions for a reason, like to come across certain people, to be inspired by certain people, or for them to be inspired by you to do other things. Like, it's great, like making these connections. It's been a blessing.
Yeah, amen to that. What advice you have for those wanting to write their first book? Now, I know you're like, what is it? Like, how many books you have so far out already published? Over 9, right? You have 11?
No, I have 7. But I guess it turns into 14 because they're bilingual. So yes. I have them in English, and then I also have them bilingual versions. So it would be 14 total.
Yeah, I knew you had a high number. So you're like a 14-time author. So what is the advice you have for anyone who wants to follow your footsteps and try writing their first children's book?
I guess one of the biggest thing is, like, if it's in your heart, then you have to go for it. You have to try to make it happen. And it doesn't happen overnight. So you just have to keep plugging away. And
that's good.
It just, that's the thing. Like, I just feel like God put this in my heart for a reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've been pushing forward ever since, because I'm like, if he put it here, I believe in it. I think it's for a good cause. You know, I see that others like it and enjoy it as well. So I'm going to keep hustling for it. And I just feel like if you feel it that strongly and you're that passionate about it, you got to go for it.
Yeah. Because the more you push it out, it doesn't mean that you don't want it.
No, you're just pushing it, but then you're still going to have it in the back of your head. Like, man, I should have done this. I should do this. Like, you know, I'm still working on trying to create DLee's animated series. When you had asked me about like what's next book wise, yeah, I might not be sure what's the next book, but I have been working on a script for DLee's World, and like that's also in my heart. So I want to see that come to fruition at some point, you know? And I'm working towards that too, like little by little, trying to figure things out and make this happen. But it's all a process, and just like, don't give up. If you're really passionate about it, you can't give up on it. That's the thing. You have to just keep trying, putting yourself out there. Like you said, meeting people, introducing yourself, you know, all of these connections. And it might not benefit you at that moment, but maybe 3 years from now, you might meet that person again. You're like, oh, hey, I remember you. Oh, I know so-and-so, you know? So all of these connections, they end up working out in your favor some way, shape, or form. It's amazing how things work.
Yeah, definitely. And if you need any help with the DLee animated series once you're working on it, like, let me know. I'm happy to help. I know it takes a lot of time, energy. I think writing a book is difficult, but putting an animation together, even a series, you know, you have so many challenges with it, because it's not just a script. It's also the illustrations, and it's not the illustrations. It's also the voice. It's not the voice. It's also the music. So you have it 4 times amplified.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm happy to provide any guidance. I know a lot of people always are very when they hear animations, it's very exciting, but when you're in it, you're like, whoa. It's almost like what are those? Like, what am I thinking? Like, it's like the reverse. Like, what was I thinking? But
I know.
Once you do it, you enjoy it. You enjoy it. And I think for me, it was once I saw my character moving, you know, I would laugh myself. I'm like, oh my God, isn't she cute?
So cute.
That's when you fall in love again with your idea. And I think that's the part that I would love to see that for you. Because it does, it's like almost like a testament again of why you did do what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And I appreciate your offer. And I'm more than likely going to take you up on it.
Yeah, no worries. Trust me. We're all going to thrive together some way, somehow. We're going to make it happen. Any resources or places that help creatives get into writing that you want to share?
I guess early on I had touched base with someone who mentioned the National Writers Union, and then using like Facebook groups and that app called Clubhouse. You can chat with other writers in your genre. I think those are pretty cool resources to have. But no, you know what? When I actually go to write though, this is like an old school resource. I like to go to the library. I haven't been there in a bit because of the pandemic, but when I first started, I used to go to the library to like really go and like look at a lot of children's books. And I know that would be the space that would have so many, and I could even check them out and just to kind of like analyze them. Like I used to love to go there and get inspired by all the authors that are, you know, there easily available at the library, you know? So I love just doing it old school style and just going in and, you know, smelling the books and kind of just getting that feel. Yeah.
I feel so spoiled because my son, I got him a Get Epic app. I'm not sure
I love that app. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I use it with my students.
So every time I think of purchasing a book, I'm like, hold on, if it's not on the Get Epic app, unfortunately, the Get Epic is almost like having a library, right?
Yeah,
But the
definitely.
only bad thing is like you don't see indie authors. For indie authors to be in the Get Epic app, you know, it's rare. It's rare. I still haven't seen a lot of books like that. So we read a lot. We read at least 5 books a day. So I'm always reading with him. And
That's
I'm always
amazing.
sometimes challenging. It's hard because boys are interested in a different genre, but I'm really loving what I'm discovering what they're into.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so different than girls, but like for example, right now they're all into like lizards and reptiles, so we're reading all about the
So it's
animals.
like
So
science
getting
books.
science books, some things that aren't science, like even like rocks, what's under the ocean, or poop books. Oh, a lot of books about poops.
About poop?
Yeah, like like silly books. Like it's either like
Silly,
very
yeah, I get that.
like it's really silly or like really sciencey or or into cars. So it's so
I get
different
that because my son's like that now, and he's 2. Like he wants to pick up the rock and explore the rock. He wants to explore the bugs, and he's really into those things. He's really into cars and all different types of transportation vehicles. Like we have so many cars, all different sizes, all different colors. Like it's insane.
We just gave away 2 bags full of cars for him, and I was so glad that now he's over that because it was like every time we went to the dollar store, it was like a new little car. That was his thing, and I couldn't believe how much we've collected over the years, right? And then. And the reason I say it's so different than the girls, because the girls are like, they love like the slime, the things for your hair, the lip glosses and paint. And it's just like so interesting. And I feel like I've been blessed that I got to enjoy both those, spaces with my girls and my son. And it's been interesting also to see how those opportunities and experiences shaped who I am as a writer. And I'm sure it's done that for you as well.
Yeah, I mean, it has in so many ways, with not my child, but with all the other children that I got to meet being an educator. Like I've been inspired so many times by kids. Like one of my stories, DLee's Bad Day, was based on a student that had difficulties in the classroom. She had a lot of trouble with her emotions, and that story I wrote based on her. That whole idea of like you have a bad day, but it doesn't have to stay that way. There's different things that you can do to get out of that rut, and I feel like it's something that it doesn't only pertain to a child, though. You can relate to that as an adult. That happens to me where it's like I start off with a bad day and I'm like, ooh, and then I have to remember like, okay, you can turn this around, right?
Yeah.
It's your choice. It's a choice that you make. So, the kids really inspire me, and I've been so blessed to teach so many children over the years and just be inspired by them. And then now I'm getting inspired by my son with just like, just watching him move, watching what he likes. And even like the shows that he's watching is actually helping me get ideas for my own series, for like the cartoon that I really want to create, So when I wrote, I started writing a script. I'm still working on it, but I kind of have pretty much like the whole idea like out. I got a lot of ideas.
Blueprint.
Yeah, I pretty much have the blueprint. I have to tweak it and stuff, but I got some ideas from just the little shows that he was watching. I was like, I want to incorporate this. I like this piece of that. I want to, because I feel like a lot of art, you're kind of taking bits and pieces of other art that you've experienced and you're putting it and making it your own.
Yeah.
So, I've been inspired in so many ways. Yeah.
I really enjoy watching the latest Netflix animation called Bebo with the kids. They really loved it.
That too. Yeah. I saw that recently with my son.
I usually fall asleep, so the fact that
I stayed awake and
loved it and watched it 3 more times, that says a lot. Actually, since we're coming to a close, I'm gonna move to the fun part where we get to know you a little bit more, and you can tell us things you think about. And we're going to start with these finish the sentence lines. So my dream vacation is, what is the first thing that pops into your head?
The Maldives.
Oh my God, that's a good one. Lately, I've been thinking Greece. I can't live
I want to go there as well.
Yeah. I can't live without.
Oh wait, are we talking people or objects? Sorry.
Anything that pops into your head.
Okay, so I'll say my husband and son.
Oh, that's beautiful. I was thinking Carmex. For some reason, I feel my lips my favorite food.
I'm thinking Carmex, my lips. Yeah, I'm thinking chapstick. No,
I can't live without it right now. My favorite food is? What's your favorite food?
All right, so I have, and this is the dessert, but my favorite food is ice cream.
Oh, I'm like good one.
A vanilla chocolate chip. I like vanilla chocolate chip Haagen-Dazs. Like, that's my thing. You like sorbet? Which flavor?
Yeah. I don't know. I keep switching. I go from lemon to strawberries and mangoes. But I recently found a favorite ice cream, and it's called Brickley's Ice Cream, and they have it in Rhode Island. So if you're ever there, you need to try it.
Brickley's, okay. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. My biggest inspiration is, I think I know who it is. Yes. I knew you were going to say that. Children.
And the reason I started writing, so.
Yeah. And people describe me as?
Kind and sweet? Question mark?
No, I was going to say, I need to add a couple more things. So, DLee, I describe you as like a fun, animated, and inspirational person. I am just so glad that we've met. And to me, I think, you're so much more than just an author. You are just a real person that is really showing others you could do anything your heart desires, because you know what? I'm a living testament of it. I'm showing by example. So I commend you for the great work you're doing and how you're disrupting the industry by letting people know I'm here. And not only am I here, I have all my kids with me. So I'm so happy that all these books that were born out of love were inspired by real kids and also the kids that have shaped your life. So I want to thank you again for being here, for sharing your experience, sharing your story. Like I said, my offer still stands, but honestly, I know you're going to do great more things.
Oh, thank you so much. And I really appreciate you having me on your show. When you asked me, I was like, yeah, 100%. Yes, I'll do it. Of course. So I really appreciate, chatting with me and, allowing me to share your space. Thank you.
You're so welcome. So thank you again and have a great night. Thank you guys for listening.
Too. Bye.
Bye.
That brings us to the end of our Inspiration Hour with Luz, and I hope you're feeling unstoppable. If you enjoy our show, please follow me on Instagram or Facebook at LuzMacOfficial, or check out my website at www.luzmac.com. Review, like, and heart us. And don't forget to spread the inspiration with others. And be sure to come back next week as I help you find your inspiration in the little things, one talk at a time.
You are listening to Jerry Royce Live Worldwide Podcast.